Welcome to the third episode of this series. And this episode is about playing big. This is the third point in my business manifesto. And this is the difference in 10% versus 10x. And if you're here to think about, oh, but I just want to know how do I, increase my income by 10%, or how do I get a salary hike by 10-15%, or how do I um, improve my relationship by just a little bit, maybe this podcast is not for you. Not just this episode, but this whole series, maybe that's not for you. This is for somebody who actually wants to create an impact in the world. And that wouldn't happen if you just take out a glass of water from the ocean. It's going to require something big. And we are going to talk about what that means for you. So, starting with the words I've written in my manifesto, play big. And the 10% and 10x thinking is about being linear, the linear growth, and an exponential growth. The 10x growth is the exponential growth. So you do not think about how do I grow my relationship 10%, but you rather think what's the tiniest action I can take in order to completely change how I see the reality or the reality I'm living in. So this is not just about how do I, make a new friend, or how do I, how do I start a new business. It's something that will radically change your whole life. And kings don't think in linear fashion. If you're a king, a queen, a leader, you're not going to think in linear fashion, in linear manner. You're going to go beyond your comfort zone because you are the rule maker. And if you don't think big enough, guess how your kingdom is going to think. If you're a parent, if you're a manager, if you're a business person, if you don't think big enough, how would people relying upon you, how will they think big? So, one of the things, and this is something I hate about the world right now, is the more I'm laughing a little bit because it's funny. I thought this was so common for people. Because so like one of the habits I have had always and always, of course it got better, but I've always been a daydreamer. I would dream a lot. I remember when I was a kid, I was like so much influenced by politics and all. I was like, I really want to become a politician and I really want to be a PM of India, want to be the Prime Minister of India. Funny thought. Of course, I don't feel that way right now. I'm not a very political person anymore. But if I look back, I've always been a daydreamer. So I've always assumed that it's what everybody does. Everybody is a daydreamer. Everybody, dreams a lot. But that's not true. The more I talk to people over the last, half a decade, I'm doing this coaching, this leadership consulting, whatever I'm doing, the people I talk to, people are not dreaming enough. It's like the reality has made us so habitual to be in the game that we are not realizing that this is a game and we could be playing bigger, we could be dreaming big. I'll give you an example. um, so one of the first things I ask whenever I'm working with business people, or new coaches who want to create their business, one of the first things I ask them is, okay, let's say you and I help you reach to your goal, whatever that is, $10,000 months or $50,000 months, or let's say you are a salaried employee and you and I work together and we helped you double your salary in a year. What would you be doing with the extra income? A lot of times people would say, oh, I'll invest that. And then are you sure you're going to invest like the 90% of your income, or is it something else you want to do? And then they suddenly slowly start thinking, they would say, I think I'll buy myself a luxury watch, or I think I'll buy myself a new car, or I think I'll go for a trip. I was literally having this conversation, half an hour before recording this episode, and I asked the same thing uh, to my client, and he said, I really want to do a Euro trip, a trip around Europe. And it's been on the back of my mind. I just never give it enough space. So this daydreaming, I, I I'd like to ask you the same question as well. What will you do when you have X dot dot dot, whatever that X is? We need space to daydream. And dreaming not according to your calculated budget. I'll make another distinction here. Dreaming not according to your calculated budget, but actually dreaming according to something that's really crazy, that doesn't make sense. So the client I was talking to, he said, I'll buy a Rolex watch. I said, how much is it? I'm not very much into watches. And he said, it is for $5,000. I said, you can buy that today. You have enough income, you have enough money, you have enough, credit, whatever. Or you can buy it next month, maybe save up for a month or two. That dream is a very calculated dream. It's not a crazy dream. In order to make exponential growth in our life, 10x, not 10%. The 10% is going to come from your calculations, your realistic expectations, but we need something beyond the realistic expectations. And I was exploring this with him. I said, I'm not too much into the watches, but I know there's this really famous like luxury brand called Patek Philippe. I don't know how to pronounce that. But if you go to a Patek Philippe store, you can't buy a watch. They are never available in stores. They're already always reserved. You have to fill an application in order to apply. And they have a whole museum in Geneva. And the watch both of us were looking at costed $4 million. Now that's something that's a crazy dream. $5,000, he can afford it today. That $5,000 watch was his calculated dream. It wasn't his exponential or crazy dream in a sense. So I call this as creating reality in your brain, creating future realities in your brain. For example, I'm going on a small trip in the coming week when I'm recording this. I already have the next two trips planned in my head. I know who I want to travel with. I know the places I want to visit. I know like a rough budget it's gonna take. I know the kind of food I want to eat. So in a way, future, I'm already creating these realities in my mind, the future realities that haven't happened yet, but they will happen. They will soon happen. So I really love this quote from The Fault in Our Stars. So the lead character was writing, I fell in love with him the way you fall asleep, slowly and then all at once. I think that's how this exponential growth happens as well. That's how you play big. You start creating these future realities in your brain really slowly. You start thinking about, for example, let's take example of this person. Let's say when he said that I want to have a Euro trip, the first thing he's gonna do, I think now, is he's going to go and watch a few YouTube videos or go to chat gpt or whatever and ask, if I want to do a 15-day trip backpacking in Europe, what are the best places I can visit? And that's where the journey begins. Week after week, day after day, slowly you start exploring and researching and creating certain realities in your mind that hasn't happened yet. But when you commit to creating space to feed those realities, they will happen soon. The issue is most of us do not create space or take time to think in a crazy way. We are being too calculative and realistic in our dreams and goals. And we think, okay, but oh, that's a $4 million watch. How will this happen? So I'll bring you back to the point we discussed in previous episodes. The how question is going to limit you. It's not how, it's who. Who do I need to be to create this? And even before that, even before you decide if you actually want this, the first thing is, rather than thinking, how will this happen? You start thinking, what do I want to experience? What do I want to create? What would I love to experience? What would I love to create? And then this happens very slowly and then all at once. There will be some people who would say, I dream a lot. I have so many big thoughts and dreams and visions, but I don't think my actions match my dreams. I was recently talking to another, uh, you know, leader, an entrepreneur, who's building a brand so big that he wants to compete with like the top 0.01% of the brands. And he mentioned this, that I know I have this big vision, I have this big thinking, but how do I match my actions? So the framework I use with my clients, I call it the words to reality ratio. How much of the words that you're using are actually turning into reality? So if you say that I'm going to meet you for dinner at 7 p.m., is that becoming a reality? Are you there for dinner at 7 p.m.? What's your current score? Let's start with that. I remember my score a few years ago, like a decade ago, maybe when I started working on personal development. I think it was very low. It was 2 by 10. I was not a reliable person at all. I would say things and that wouldn't just happen. I would say that this will be done, I will do this, I will do that, and things wouldn't happen. But over time, I think my current score right now is 9.5. When I say something, it happens. So we call it speaking words into existence, speaking realities, speaking dreams into existence. So I remember when I started dating my wife, of course, my then girlfriend, I told her after 1 month of dating, I told her that we're gonna get married soon. I think we're gonna get married like very, very soon. And we got engaged. We had like a family function in like 7 months after that. And 10 months after that, we got married. The words to reality ratio is something that's going to create your dreams into reality. So, how do you grow this? How do you grow your words to reality ratio? Whatever you say, how can you make sure that it comes true? You start by keeping promises to yourself. So, whatever promises you make, not to others, we'll come back to that. We'll come later to, okay, how do I keep promises to others? But notice, how are you keeping your promises to yourself? So, if you say that I'm going to send an email at, you know, before lunch tomorrow, make sure you send that email before lunch tomorrow. And if your score is very bad right now, let's say it's 1 by 10 at the moment, but like 1 out of 10 things are actually coming true from whatever you're saying. If your score is very low, you can start by simply keeping one promise a day to yourself. And don't make it super hard, make it super simple. It could be, so again, somebody who's super busy, who's not taking time out to take care of themselves. This keeping promises to yourself could look like that I'm going to make sure that I eat 3 meals at time, and you can decide your time. I'll eat 3 meals at 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 7 p.m., or whatever your times are. And then keep that promise to yourself, just one day at a time. So we need to start with bigger vision. We need to start with playing big. And then the second step needs to be small, realistic, real actions. Yes. The playing big mindset would also require for you to have bigger risk capacity. If you want to create a brand worth whatever 100 million, but right now you have a debt of $10,000, you must learn how to recenter and ground yourself so it doesn't bother you that much, because you cannot be bothered by a $10,000 debt when you're on your way to make $100 million. Just giving an example. So you need to learn how to develop bigger risk capacities. You can do that by reading books. You can do that by talking to people closer to your goals. I really enjoyed that quote from Alex Hamosi. He says, don't talk to people who are closer to you geographically or emotionally. Talk to people, spend more time with people who are closer to your goals. And this also means you can work with leadership consultants, you can work with coaches. Because I do this all the time with my clients. I know how it works. I've worked with so many coaches myself as a client. Dreams are not a place to get to, it's a place to come from. So if you want to have a happy marriage, it's not okay, when I have a happy marriage, I will do ABC. It's like that's the requirement if you want to have the happy marriage. So start doing ABC now. It's not like, okay, when I start my own business, I will do ABC. They're a place to come from. That ABC is what you need to be doing today in order to create your business. Dreams are not a place to get to, dreams are a place to come from. If I were a loving, kind, and powerful king in my world, how would I show up? If I was already a successful business person, how would I show up today? If I was already in a successful marriage, if I was already taking care of myself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, how would I be showing up today? And then go and do that. Start by daydreaming. Dream a lot, like a crazy, crazy dream. Carry that with you. Something big. And then match it up with your actions. Work on your words to reality ratio. I'd love to know what you think about what we discussed today. I'm looking at your comments, and all the important links are going to be in description. I'll be seeing you soon in the next episode. Take care.